Most people invest money in a random order. They open an app, they see a stock going up, and they throw money at it. Then they wonder why their friend, who makes the same salary, somehow has triple the savings. The difference usually is not luck. It is a sequence, a specific order of steps that turns a normal paycheck into real long-term wealth, while skipping steps in the wrong order quietly drains money away. This video breaks down that exact sequence step by step, so you never have to guess where your money should go next. Before any investing happens at all, there needs to be a small pile of cash set aside that never touches the stock market. This is often called an emergency fund, which simply means money saved for surprise expenses like a car repair or a medical bill. Picture someone who puts every spare dollar into stocks the moment they get paid. No cash saved anywhere. Then their car breaks down and the repair costs $1,200. They do not have the cash sitting around, so they either put it on a credit card or they sell some of their stock investments to cover it. Selling stocks to cover an emergency is where things go wrong. If the market happens to be down that week, they are forced to sell at a loss, locking in money they can never get back. If they use a credit card instead, they might get charged 20% interest, which quietly outweighs anything the stock market could earn them that year. This is why the very first step before touching any investment account is building a small cash cushion. It does not need to be huge at first. Even $1,000 sitting in a separate savings account can stop small emergencies from turning into debt or forced stock sales. Once that small cushion exists, the next question becomes obvious. What happens with the money left over after the emergency fund? That is where the real order begins. And it starts with something most people do not realize is sitting right in front of them. Here is a number that surprises a lot of people. In many workplaces, when someone puts money into their retirement account through work, the company will match a portion of it. That match is often described as a 401k match, a 401k being a retirement account offered through a job. If a company offers a 50% match up to 6% of salary, that means for every dollar put in, up to that limit, the company adds 50 cents for free. Think about someone earning $50,000 a year. If they put in 6% of their salary, that's $3,000 a year. And their company matches half of that, adding $1,500. That $1,500 did not come from the person's paycheck at all. It appeared simply because they signed up for the match. Now picture someone at the same job, earning the same salary, who never signs up for the retirement plan because they think they cannot afford it. Over 10 years, they miss out on roughly $15,000 of free money that was never taken out of their pocket in the first place. This is the step that almost always comes before anything else, even before paying off debt in some cases, because turning down free money that grows over decades rarely makes sense. But here's the catch that most people never hear about, and it changes what happens next. Before putting another dollar into any investment, there is one obstacle standing in the way for a lot of people, and it is bigger than most realize. High interest debt, especially credit card debt, often charges interest rates between 20 and 25% a year. Compare that to the stock market, which historically averages around 10% a year. And that is before accounting for the ups and downs along the way. If someone is investing money at 10% while carrying a balance on a card charging 23%, they are losing more on the debt than they are gaining on the investment. It is like filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Picture two friends with $5,000 each. One pays off a credit card charging 22% interest, the other invests the same $5,000 in the stock market instead, while still carrying that same credit card balance. A year later, the person who paid off the card saved about $1,100 in interest they would have owed. The person who invested instead made roughly $500 in the market, but paid over $1,000 in credit card interest at the same time. They come out behind, even though it felt like they were doing something productive with their money. This is why high-interest debt gets paid off before most other investing happens. Once that 17 to 25% interest rate disappears, it frees up money every single month that used to disappear into interest payments. But not all debt works the same way, and this is where people often get confused and freeze up completely. The order so far is simple. Build a small cash cushion, grab any free money from a job match, then knock out high-interest debt. But there is a bigger problem sitting underneath all of this that most people never talk about: taxes. Every dollar invested can end up taxed differently depending on which account it sits inside. Some accounts get taxed now, some get taxed later, and some almost never get taxed at all if used correctly. Picking the wrong account is not just a small mistake. Over 30 or 40 years, it can mean paying tens of thousands of dollars in extra taxes that could have been avoided. This is the part where the real order of investing starts to matter even more, because two people who follow the exact same first 3 steps can still end up in very different places, just based on which account gets the money next. After the emergency fund, the free match money, and the high-interest debt are handled, the next step usually involves something called a Roth IRA, which stands for Roth Individual Retirement Account. Money put into a Roth IRA is taxed now, but it grows completely tax-free after that, and can be taken out tax-free in retirement. Picture someone who puts $300 a month into a Roth IRA starting at age 25. By the time they reach 65, assuming a typical stock market average return, that account could grow to somewhere around $800,000. Every single dollar of that growth comes out completely tax-free. Now picture someone who instead puts that same $300 a month into a regular taxable investment account, the kind with no special tax benefits. They end up paying taxes on the gains every single year, sometimes taxes on dividends, sometimes taxes when they eventually sell. Over 40 years, that tax drag can shrink the final amount by well over $100,000 just from taxes eating into the growth along the way. This is why a Roth IRA, or a similar account depending on someone's situation, usually comes right after handling debt and grabbing the employer match. It is one of the few places where growth can happen without the tax bill following it around for decades. But there is a catch, and this catch quietly limits how much some people can use. Roth IRA and similar accounts usually have a yearly limit on how much can be put in. Once that limit is hit, and once the earlier steps are complete, the next move usually involves going back to the retirement account offered at work, the 401k, and increasing contributions beyond just the matched amount. Here is why this matters. Contributions to a traditional 401k reduce taxable income the same year they are made. Someone earning $70,000 a year who contributes $10,000 to their 401k is only taxed as if they earned $60,000 that year. That can shift someone into a lower tax bracket, meaning less money owed to the government right now, while the contributed money grows for decades. Picture 2 coworkers earning the same salary. One increases their 401k contributions after maxing out their Roth IRA. The other keeps extra cash sitting in a regular bank account earning almost nothing. After 20 years, the person contributing to the 401k not only has a much larger retirement balance, they also paid less in taxes every single year along the way, simply because that contributed money was never counted as taxable income in the first place. This step often gets skipped because people assume the Roth IRA is the only retirement account that matters. But going back to increasing 401k contributions after maxing out a Roth is where a lot of extra long-term growth quietly builds up without much extra effort. So at this point, someone has a cash cushion, they are grabbing free match money, their high-interest debt is gone, their Roth IRA is maxed, and their 401k contributions are increased. What is left? After all of the accounts with special tax rules and contribution limits are filled up, the next stop is a plain, ordinary taxable brokerage account. This is simply an investment account with no special tax treatment and no contribution limit at all. This account matters for a different reason than the others. It offers something called liquidity, which just means the ability to take money out whenever needed, without waiting until retirement age and without facing early withdrawal penalties. Retirement accounts are powerful, but the money inside them is usually locked up until a certain age, often 59.5, or penalties apply. Picture someone who puts every extra dollar into retirement accounts only, with nothing in a flexible account. At age 45, they want to start a small side business or make a large purchase. All of their money is locked away in accounts they cannot touch without paying a penalty. Meanwhile, someone who built up a taxable brokerage account alongside their retirement accounts has flexible money ready to use whenever life calls for it, without penalties eating into it. This is why the taxable account comes after the accounts with tax benefits, not before. It fills the role of flexible, penalty-free growth for money that might be needed before retirement age arrives. But there's one more layer that most videos on this topic never even mention, and it can quietly change the entire order for certain people. For people who have access to a specific type of health insurance plan, there is an account called a health savings account, often shortened to HSA. This account is often overlooked, but it actually offers something no other account on this list offers. Money put in avoids taxes going in, it grows tax-free, and it comes out tax-free too, as long as it's used for health expenses. Picture someone who puts $50 a week into an HSA starting in their late 20s, but does not spend it, letting it grow instead, and paying for smaller health costs out of pocket along the way. By retirement age, that account could be worth well over $200,000, all of it untouched by taxes at any point, ready to cover medical costs that almost everyone eventually faces later in life. For people who have access to this type of account, it often gets slotted in right around the same priority level as the Roth IRA, sometimes even before it, because of how rare it is to find money that is never taxed at any stage. So now the full order is laid out. But here's the question that's been sitting underneath this entire video. What happens when someone follows every single one of these steps, and there's still money left over every single month? Start with a small cash cushion so emergencies never force a bad decision. Then grab any free match money offered at work, because turning down free money rarely makes sense. Next, clear out any high-interest debt, especially credit cards, because that interest rate usually beats what investing could earn back. After that, fill up a Roth IRA or similar account, letting decades of growth happen without a tax bill following it. If access to a health savings account exists, it often slots in around this same stage. Then circle back to the 401k from work and push contributions higher, lowering taxable income while building long-term growth. After all of that, a plain taxable brokerage account soaks up whatever is left, offering flexibility that locked-up retirement accounts cannot. Someone who follows this order is not doing anything flashy. They are not picking hot stocks or timing the market. They are simply moving money through the right doors in the right order, letting free money, tax breaks, and interest rates work in their favor instead of against them.